कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Stephen, you second host, please.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I've given you host, Stephen.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
When Seneca comes, you give him, please.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Welcome.
Hare Krishna,
Giving host
Prabhu.
now.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah,
Please accept my respectful obeisance. It's okay. Father, yes. Maharaj, sorry. I will request Akin Chana Prabhu to do the slides today.
Okay.
I was I'm in Lagos actually. I'm boarding the flight in the next 10 minutes. There was an election, so my flight time was changed to an earlier time because of the election restriction. So I had to come to the airport earlier than scheduled time.
Okay.
So I won't be able to share the slide because any moment from now we'll be boarding. I already checked in already. So Akin Chana Prabhu, I'll give him the host now so that he can share the slide.
All right.
Pardon my absence for today. But I'll be there by Krishna's grace tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Save Jenny.
So Akin Chana Prabhu, I'm giving you the host now.
Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, so please, I'm giving you the host so you can go ahead.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much, Prabhu. I'm your servant. Dandavat Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yes.
So Akin Chana Prabhu, you are host now.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
maybe I can start my prayers. I think we've got up to 10 candidates, 10 students, so we can start. Amagyana Tamaridasya, Jnanam Janashalakaya, Shakshuramani Tangena Tasmai, Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Mano Vistam Stapitam Yanamutare. Ayam Rupa Kada Mayam Dhrati Swapadantikam. Vande Hum Sri Guru Sri Yukta Padakamalam, Sri Gurum Vaishnavam Scha, Sri Rupam Jatam, Sahagana Radhanasam Jitam Tam Sanjivam, Sarvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam, Krishna Chaitanya Devam, Sri Radha Krishna Padam, Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vicham. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Niti Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shri Padmane Shri Bhakti Tirtha Namini. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvase Sasmiya Bhadi Pasachanade Satarini Vanchakalpatarabhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyai Vacha Avinibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Chaitanya Namni Gauratine Namaha Nityanando Vatutendo Vasudha Pranavarabaha Janavir Jivita Patir Krishna Prema Pranava Padmavati Sutta Srimam Sachirananda Bhavom Mata Jagat Navata Gomrakanivaha Advaitam Harinadvaita Racharyam Bhakti Shamsha Pravatam Itam Samarveta Acharya Shvaye Panchamakam Krishna Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaya Cha Nanda Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankajanavaya Nama Pankajamalini Nama Pankajanitraya Namaste Pankajagraye Namo Devaya Go Brahmanahitaya Cha Jaganhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandha Jagatpate Gopesha Gopesha Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Jayatam Srato Pango Dirgadma Sarvasa Rambujo Radha Manana Mohano Divya Vendaranya Kalpatrumada Srimad Radhagara Bhasanastao Sri Radha Sri Govinda Devo Christiani Sevyamano Smaram Mamrasa Rasaram Divam Sivata Tata Sita Karsan Venusvan Gopinata Sri Estunaha Sapta Kantana Gaurangi Radhe Bindavanishwari Vrishaba Devi Pranamami Hari Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Gadadha Srivas Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Kam Karoti Chalam Pangamanai Sri Patamahan Vande Sri Guru Dina Taranam Paramanam Bhagavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Akanda Mandalakaram Yena Characharam Tatpadam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So we sing the song glorifying the six Goswamis. Nana Shastra Vicharina Nipano Sadharma Samstano Lokenahita Karuna Tribhuvane Manya Sharanya Karo Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajanan Nande Namataliko Vande Rupa Sanatana Ragayugo Sri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatana Ragayugo Sri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatana Ragayugo Sri Jiva Gopalako. After my responses unto the six Goswamis, namely Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatt Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the three worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. So everyone is welcome to today's discussion. And we ended on slide 150. So today we are beginning with 151. And of course, tomorrow we are starting 30 minutes earlier. Tomorrow we are starting at 7 o'clock and ending at 9 o'clock instead of 7:30 to 9:30 because there is a program on the platform tomorrow at 9 o'clock. So we must end the class promptly at 9 o'clock to be part of the 9 o'clock program. So please take the 7 o'clock, and tomorrow we'll start exactly 7 o'clock because we have to do that within 2 hours. So please tomorrow be on time so that we can start on time. So we continue our discussion. Slide 151 says, desiring to render personal service to the Lord. My dear Lord, when shall that day come when you will ask me to fan your body according to your pleasure? You will say, you just fan me in this way. Here, the devotee is desiring to become a servant of the Lord and desires to fan the Lord, as does his internal energy, Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. He also wishes that the personality of Godhead will be pleased to give him directions as to how to fan. This submission with transcendental desire on the Lasha Mai Vigyapti is the highest professional stage of spiritual realization. So, every living entity is naturally a servant of Krishna. Jivera Swarupa Haya Krishna Nitya Das. The constitutional position of the living entity is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, that is why we were created. It is said that Radha and Krishna are one. But just to expand their pleasure, to expand their enjoyment, they expanded into two forms, Radha and Krishna. Similarly, to increase his pleasure, Krishna created the living entities. So the living entities, our position is to serve the Supreme Lord. And that is actually what will make us happy. But due to some misconception, due to some situation, the living entity, some of the living entities decided to serve themselves or to please their senses. They want to take the position of Krishna, and that has brought us into the material world. So at the point of perfection, when one gives up this strong tendency to matter, then this submission called Lalasamai is the professional stage of self-realization. Just like we see that Prithu Maharaj is praying in the 4th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Atabaje Twa Kila Purushotamam. Then now I wish to engage in the service of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and just serve him like the goddess of fortune. The goddess of fortune is the best servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srimati Radharani is the topmost servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mula Prakriti, the original energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is one. The root, Mula Prakriti, is Radharani. But she expanded into the gopis and expanded into the Lakshmis just to render service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the goddess of fortune is considered the best servant of the Lord. Our Srimati Radharani is considered the topmost servant of the Lord. He knows exactly what is pleasing to Krishna because he is not different from Krishna. He and Krishna are one. But just to expand their joy, expand their pleasure, they divide it into two eternally. So Prithu Maharaj is praying that he wants to render service and lotus feet of the Lord, just like the goddess of fortune, who carries a lotus flower in her hand, because his Lordship, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the reservoir of all transcendental qualities. So that is the prayer of Prithu Maharaj. He wants to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead just like the goddess of fortune, just like the gopis, just like Srimati Radharani, because they're the topmost servants. So this will happen only when we have attained perfection. When we have attained perfection, then we will have this Lalasha Mai, this hankering, a hankering to please the Lord in the conditioned state. We hanker to please our senses. For the whole material world, there is intense competition, intense greed just for our senses. But as soon as we transcend this material world, then our greed for our senses will change to this lalasha mai, greed to serve the Lord. So that is the submission given by a devotee who has reached the professional stage. By engaging in sadhana bhakti, Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, one graduates to Raganuga sadhana bhakti. And by intensifying Raganuga sadhana bhakti, one moves to the Bhava bhakti platform. And by intensifying the Bhava bhakti, one moves to the platform of Prema bhakti. So on the Bhava stage, when one is experiencing transcendental happiness and joy, one comes to this platform of lowliam, lalashimai, intense greed to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It cannot be imitated. One has to be free from all contaminations. If one is not free from contaminations, one cannot develop this kind of greed. So the whole thing begins with sadhana bhakti. When we increase our intensity of sadhana bhakti, it will take us to bhava bhakti. And when we increase the practice and desire, then it will take us to prema bhakti. So at the stage of perfection, then one can desire this. 52, 152, slide 152. And change to 52. Okay, it's only one. Desiring to render, okay, the price for entering the kingdom of God. One should learn this small technique, and he should be very eager and actually cry to become engaged in some particular type of service. This is called lowlium. And such tears are the prize for the highest perfection. If one develops this lowlium or excessive eagerness for meeting and serving the Lord in a particular way, that is the price to enter the kingdom of God. Otherwise, there is no material calculation for the value of the ticket by which one can enter the kingdom of God. The only price for such entrance is this lowliam nalasha mayi, or desire and great eagerness. So actually this slide and the previous slide are linked, because to enter the kingdom of God, one must come to this platform of intense greed, intense desire to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To come to the platform of perfection, one must increase the greed to serve. Without increasing the greed to serve, we cannot come to the stage of perfection. And without attaining perfection, there is no question of entering the spiritual world. We are in the material world because of imperfection. We are desiring the wrong thing. And that is the imperfection that brings us here. So for us to go back to the spiritual world, then we must develop the right attitude. So Rupa Goswami mentions Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Matiri. Kriyatam Yat Kutopi Labhyate Tatra Loliam Api Muliam Eklam Jarma Koti Shupritai Na Labhyate. Pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness cannot be had even by pious activity in hundreds and thousands of lives. It can only be attained by paying the price. And what is the price? The price is intense greed to obtain it. Therefore, if it is available anywhere, one must purchase it at all costs without any delay. So, pure devotional service is actually what we need. Everyone in this material world wants to be happy. We want to be blissful. We want to be satisfied. We want to stop this hankering. But all of these things can only become possible when we have become pure. As soon as we are free from anarthas, anartha nivriti, when we are free from anarthas, when we are no more hankering for anything mundane for our senses, when everything is directed towards Krishna's pleasure, then that is the time the living entity will feel the peace, he will feel the pleasure. So long as we are still competitors with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we cannot experience the peace and pleasure that we are seeking. Srila Prabhupada describes Bhagavad Gita verse 29 of the 5th chapter, 529, Bhuktaram Jagya Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, as the peace formula. Says anyone who follows that instruction given by Krishna, who understands that instruction and accepts it, embraces it, such a person will experience peace. Not only peace, he will experience bliss. And that is what is most needed in this world. People want peace and they want bliss, but they don't know how to approach it. So this Krishna consciousness has given us a very clear path how to achieve it. It now depends on the sincerity of each practitioner. Based on the sincerity of each practitioner, Krishna reciprocates with the practitioner. So when we increase our greed to please the Lord, when we increase our desire to please the Lord, Lolium, then we can come to that platform. We can pay the price. And then Krishna will give us the reward. Everything has a price. We cannot enjoy Krishna consciousness without sacrificing. We cannot become educated without going to school. There are few people, very, very few, rare people, who have not gone to school. They've not entered the four walls of the classroom. They've not seen. But somehow or the other, they were educated at home but they are very few, very rare. Majority of us, we have to go to school from class 1 to wherever we reached in order to be educated. So we need spiritual education, we need spiritual training in order to understand what Krishna wants and how to please him. Just as we need to go to school, we need to go to the classroom to learn how to read and write. Similarly, we need a teacher, we need a guidance. We need guidance to be able to understand what Krishna wants and how to approach it. So here Rupa Goswami is saying that we must develop that intense if we want to be pure, if we want to perform pure devotional service for Krishna, internal greed, in very intense greed, to achieve it must develop in our hearts. And that is the price to pay for going back home, back to Godhead. You can go to 153. 153, the power of offering prayers. Actually, 153 and 154 are together, so we'll read both. The power of offering prayers. Any person who comes before the deity of the Lord and begins to chant different prayers is immediately relieved from all the reactions of sinful activities and becomes eligible without any doubt to enter into Vaikuntha Loka. The next slide. The importance of daily prayers. According to great learned scholars, the whole Bhagavad Gita contains many authorized prayers, especially in the 11th chapter, where Arjuna prays to the universal form of the Lord. Similarly, in the Gautamiya Tantra, all the verses are called prayers. Again, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are hundreds of prayers to the Lord. So a devotee should select some of these prayers for his recitation. In the Skanda Purana, the glories of these prayers are stated as follows. Devotees whose tongues are decorated always with prayers to Lord Krishna are always given respect, even by the great saintly persons and sages. And such devotees are actually worshipable by the demigods. So in the previous slide, it says, any person who comes before the deity of Lord Krishna and begins to chant different prayers is immediately relieved from all reactions of sinful activities and becomes eligible without a doubt to enter into Vaikuntha. In the 8th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned how Gajendra was attacked by a crocodile. He had gone into a lake to have a bath with his she-elephants, his wives, and unfortunately, a crocodile attacked Gajendra, and there was a big battle. But because Gajendra was in a foreign environment, the elephant is stronger on land, not in water. And the crocodile is stronger in water, not on land. So the crocodile had an advantage over Gajendra. So he was dragging Gajendra deeper and deeper into the water. And that means Gajendra's life was in danger, because if the crocodile is able to drag him down into the water, he will suffocate, he will die. So Gajendra was aware of that, and so he was fighting like anything not to be dragged into the deep area of the water. But when Gajendra noticed that his power was diminishing, he remembered that he has to offer prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because Gajendra was a devotee in his previous life. And he used to offer prayers to the Lord. So somehow, by the Lord's grace, he remembered some of those prayers, and he picked up a lotus flower and began to offer prayers along with the flower to Lord Vishnu. And what happened? Lord Vishnu delivered Gajendra from the clutches of the crocodile. So because of offering those beautiful prayers, the Lord was attracted to those beautiful prayers. Immediately, Lord Narayan descended on his Garuda, on the back of Garuda, and with his Sudarshan chakra, he severed the head of the attacking enemy of Garuda. The crocodile was killed. Of course, the crocodile was also a personality who was cursed to take birth as a crocodile. So, and the Lord came and cut off his head and delivered him. So Krishna delivered the crocodile and delivered Gajendra, just because of the prayers Gajendra offered. So, reciting prayers before the deities is a very powerful devotional activity. Vandanam. Vandanam. We must offer prayers every day. Actually, we see the songs we sing in the morning, they are prayers. We do Vandanam prayers. We sing every morning, prayers. The Sundarat prayers, by Bhakti Thakur, they are prayers. Tulsi Arti, they are prayers. Guru Puja, they are prayers. These are different prayers by different devotees. And in the Bhagavad Gita, there are many prayers. Especially the 11th canto, the 11th chapter, when Arjuna saw the Vishwarupa, the universal form, he was frightened. And he began to offer prayers to the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of so many prayers. Practically every canto, you'll find some prayers. So the advice is that one should select some of these prayers and recite them on a daily basis. Because by reciting such prayers, one becomes dear to the Lord. Devotees whose tongues are decorated always with prayers to Lord Krishna are always given respect, even by great saintly persons and sages. And such devotees are actually worshipable by the demigods. This is a statement from the Skanda Purana. So in other words, by our constant prayer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we actually become endeared to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone who chants the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will become dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone who glorifies the Supreme Personality of Godhead will attract the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is a person. He's a sentient person with feelings, with mind. Whatever we have is simply a reflection of the spiritual qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So therefore, when we glorify the Lord, when we sing the glories of the Lord, he hears, he listens, he enjoys them, and he reciprocates. So chanting the glories of the Lord attracts the attention of the Lord, just as Gajendra did. So therefore, Vandanam, a devotee must offer prayers on a daily basis. If one can create his own prayers, if one can coin his own prayers, all well and good. But if one cannot, then there are so many prayers that one can select. Great devotees, great acharyas have written so many prayers, and one can select some of these prayers and make them into his daily offerings to the Supreme Lord. As it is said that the words of the sages, the words of advanced devotees are free from fault. Generally, the conditioned soul is influenced by the four faults. We have pramada, that's illusion. We have karana patava, which is defective senses. Vipralapsa, which is cheating. And the tendency to cheat. So the living entity is influenced by these four defects. And so whatever we see, whatever we say, whatever we think is influenced by these four defects. But for the saintly people, for the sages, because they are constantly thinking about the Supreme Lord, their minds have become completely spiritual, their intelligence spiritualized. Whatever they say about the Supreme Lord has no defects. So if we can select some of their prayers and offer them to the Supreme Lord, we can attract the Lord's attention. 155, slide 155.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
You didn't mention Sri Upanishads. Some prayers there also.
Is that?
Sri Upanishads, some prayers there.
Yeah, Isha Upanishads also has one beautiful prayer. Thank you. Isha Upanishads are full of beautiful prayers. So we can take some prayers from there. We can take prayers from Bhagavad Gita, from Srimad Bhagavatam, from Chaitanya Charitamrita. There are so many prayers everywhere. And on daily basis, we should recite them. Very important. Thank you. Text 155, honoring remnants of the Lord's Prashadam. A person who honors the Prashadam and regularly eats it, not exactly from the deity, along with Charanamrita, the water offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, which is mixed with seeds of the tulasi tree, immediately can achieve the results of pious activities, which are obtained through 10,000 performances of sacrificial rites. So accepting the remnants of Prashadam and drinking the Charanamrita, which is the water that has washed the lotus feet of the Lord, is considered a very, very important aspect of devotional service. We normally chant the Mahaprasad prayer, Mahaprasadam Govinde Namam Brahmani Vaishnave. So alpa punyava tamra jan visha isana evajayate. Those who are not pious cannot understand the value of Mahaprashadam or the value of the holy name of the Lord. Both Prashadam and the Lord's name are on the platform of Brahman. One should never consider Prashadam to be like any ordinary food cooked in a hotel. One should take Prashadam with great faith as she chant the holy names of the Lord and worship the deity in the temple, remembering that the deity, Mahaprashadam, and the holy name do not belong to the mundane world. By worshiping the deity, eating Mahaprashadam, and chanting Hare Krishna, one can always remain on the spiritual platform. Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. Manchayo via Bicharini, Bhakti Yogina Sevate. Sagunai Samanti Tinatan, Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. Taking Prashadam, taking Charanamrita is also considered service. It's seva. That's why it's called Prashadam Seva. Taking Prashadam is service. So one who takes Prashadam, one who worships the deity, and one who chants the holy name will certainly attain the spiritual kingdom. And in fact, we can see, we are all testimonies to this fact. When we came into Krishna consciousness, we were just very raw, very green, very sinful, eating everything, drinking everything, and relating to anything and everything. That's the material life. That's the karmic life. No rules, no regulations. Eat anything, drink anything, relate to anybody, interact with everybody. That is material existence. But as soon as we started associating with devotees, then they began to guide us. Don't eat this, don't drink this, don't relate unfavorably, don't do this, don't do that. Chant Hare Krishna, take Prashadam. And simply by following these, the instructions of the devotees, we have become freed from these material entanglements. We become freed from this sense gratification that leads to bondage. So accepting Prashadam, honoring Prashadam, taking Charanamrita, worshiping the deity, chanting the holy name. These are spiritual activities. One should never think that they are material. I think 56 is also talking about drinking Charanamrita. A person who has never been able to give in charity, who has never been able to perform a great sacrifice, who has never been able to study the Vedas, who has never been able to worship the Lord, or in other words, even one who has never done any pious activities will become eligible to enter into the kingdom of God if he simply drinks the Charanamrita, which is kept in the temple. In the temple, it is the custom that the Charanamrita be kept in a big pot. The devotees who come to visit and offer respects to a deity take 3 drops of Charanamrita very submissively and feel themselves happy in transcendental bliss. So this is the power of drinking Charanamrita. It is also mentioned in the scriptures, Vivyas Tavamritam Kotuda Vahastri Lokya. Tirta draviam suchisadas ta upashamritia. That the nectar-bearing rivers generated from the bathing of your lotus feet are able to destroy all contaminations within the 3 wells. Those who are striving for purification associate with the holy narrations of your glories by hearing them with their ears. And they associate with the holy rivers flowing from your lotus feet by physically bathing in them. So there are many sources of Charanamrita. The rivers, the holy rivers that descend from the spiritual world. The Ganges actually washed the lotus feet of Lord Vamanadev. Vamanadev's toe pierced the universal covering and entered into the causal ocean, and the water began to drip from the causal ocean. And that water becomes the Ganges. So taking a drop of that water, sipping that water is as good as taking Charanamrita, because it washed the lotus feet of Lord Vamanadev. So drinking that water or bathing in that water is very purifying. Similarly, the water of the Yamuna was brought down from the spiritual sky when Krishna wanted to come down into the material world. Srimati Radharani demanded, "Now I cannot go with you." Rather, Krishna wanted Radharani to come with him. And Radharani said, "I cannot go with you to the material world if there is no Yamuna for us to swim, if there is no Govardhan for us to sport." So Krishna said, "They are already sent there. Yamuna is already there, Govardhan is already there." So they are actually coming down from the spiritual sky. So taking bath in the Yamuna, drinking the Charanamrita, paying obeisances to Sri Govardhan, these are all considered very powerful spiritual activities. According to the Agastya Samhita, the water that has washed the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu or the pure devotee is equal to the combined waters of all the places of pilgrimage. So after drinking such Charanamrita, one does not even need to perform a chamana. Normally when we drink Charanamrita, we are supposed to wash the hands and wash the mouth. But after drinking such Charanamrita, like the water that has washed the lotus feet of the Lord, Yamuna River, Ganga River, Shipra River, one does not need to wash or perform a chamana, because they are transcendental waters, waters that have touched the Supreme Lord, waters that have bathed the Supreme Lord. So they have such potency that it is said that one can go back home, back to the kingdom of God. One becomes eligible to enter the kingdom of God if he simply drinks this Charanamrita. So that is the power, the potency of drinking Charanamrita. 157, slide 157.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Please, there's a question in the chat box. Someone is asking if it is there's any offense committed if we dispose of or withdraw our leftover prasadam.
Leftover prasadam, it should be fed to the animals. If you have leftover prasadam, like in Puri, there's a place they cook a lot. So there's a place, they pour the rice, they pour the sabji, and then the cows will go and eat. That's when Raghunath Goswami used to go and take his breakfast. He would go and fetch some of those thrown away prasadam, and then he will wash it, and he will relish it, he will eat it. So they should be fed to animals. They shouldn't just be thrown away. It should be kept in a place that animals can eat it. Is that okay? Hare Krishna.
The Chachamrita, is it the same as the Maha water we normally give out during Sundays?
Well, there's no difference. You see, the Maha water is the water that is offered to the deity to drink. You know, when the deity is, when they finish bathing the deities and dressing them, they offer them drinking water. They have a cup, they offer them that. And sometimes when they bathe the deities, every morning the deities are bathed. Sometimes the water that they use in bathing the deity are also added. So yes, it is as good as the Charamrita, because if the water that is drunk by Krishna becomes prasad, and the water that is used in bathing the deity is Charamrita. So yes, that water is not different from Charamrita. Slide 157. Smelling the incense and flowers offered to the Lord. Somebody like to read this?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. You can read.
Right. Okay, I read. Yes, Maharaj. Smelling the incense and flowers offered to the Lord. When the devotees smell the good fragrance of the incense which is offered to the deity, they thus become cured of the poisonous effect of material contamination, as much as one becomes cured of a snake bite by smelling the prescribed medicinal herbs. The explanation of this verse is that there is an herb found in the jungles which expert persons know how to use to revive the consciousness of one who is bitten by a snake. Simply by smelling that herb, one becomes immediately relieved of the poisonous effects of the snake bite. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much. So the items that are offered to the deities are called Nirmalya. Nirmalya includes the garlands, includes the flowers, chandan, bathing water, tulasi leaves, manjaris, incense. All these are described as Nirmalya. So after the puja is completed, the devotee should accept these items on their head. They should accept them as prasadam. The goal of puja is to satisfy the Lord, and by satisfying the Lord, one receives the mercy from the Lord. So all these things we offer is meant for satisfying the deity. And after the deity has enjoyed them, then they become prasadam for the devotees. And we heard last week how Uddhava is praising the potency of these remnants of things that are offered to the Lord, where he said that by accepting the items offered to the Lord, one can become free from the material energy. Tavamaya Yajemahi. Udava is saying that by accepting these remnants, these items offered to the Lord, we your servants can easily overcome the illusory energy. So here it is, these things are compared to a snake bite, the material energy. The effect of Maya is compared to a snake bite. When a snake bites somebody, because of the poison, he becomes unconscious. But there are experts who know different herbs. And when they rub the herbs in front of the nostrils and the patient inhales the fragrance of the herbs, it revives the patient. Even in some cases, they use sound. There's some people who are very expert. They chant mantras, and by chanting the mantras, they can revive the consciousness of the patients. So similarly, the material energy has bitten us, actually. We are bitten by Maya. And so we have become unconscious of our spiritual nature. We are unconscious of Krishna and devotional service. And that is why we are very busy in this world. Everyone is very busy because we are bitten by the snake of Maya. And so we have become unconscious of our identity. We have become unconscious of the Supreme Lord. We have become unconscious of devotional service. And so we need to be revived. And the process of revival is smelling these nirmalya, items that are offered to the Lord in puja, items that have been offered to the Lord for his satisfaction. And the remnants, they become very powerful in reviving our consciousness. So it is important that devotees smell the incense, smell the flowers, accept the remnants. Whatever is offered to the deity, we should understand is for us. It's a blessing for us. Actually, Krishna does not need all these things, but just to give us his mercy, Krishna is asking for these things. Pushpam phalam toyam, pushpam patam pushpam phalam toyam. Krishna is asking for a flower, a leaf, a water. Why? He doesn't need these things, but because he wants to convert them into spiritual artifacts. He wants to convert them into spiritual items for the benefit of the devotee. Krishna is asking for these things. So these things are for our benefit. So therefore, a devotee must accept these offerings, smell them, taste them, and revive his Krishna consciousness. In 158, it talks about touching the deity. Slide 158. Touching the deity. Only one who is properly initiated, who is properly following the rules and regulations, can enter and touch the deity. Not all. And one who touches the body of the deity following such regulatory principles is immediately delivered from the contamination of material sins, and all of his desires become fulfilled without delay. So touching the deity is limited to those who are qualified. Here it says one who is duly initiated, properly initiated, and who is following the rules and regulations, he can enter the altar and thank the deities. He can have access to dressing the deities, cooking for the deities, serving the deities, bathing the deities, and so on. So it's not everyone who can just thank the deities, because sometimes in our temples, when we don't have manpower, qualified manpower, we don't have Brahmins or even initiated devotees, sometimes some uninitiated devotees are authorized. So once they are authorized by their temple authorities, Krishna will accept the service. But if they just go on their own, Krishna will not accept the service. So one has to be authorized. If one is not qualified, like he's not initiated, he's not a Brahmin initiated, and he has to thank the deities, serve the deities, then he has to obtain authorization from his authorities. And in that way, Krishna accepts. So by touching the deity, one can be free from contamination. It says, Murdini Sri Charana Yor Stapanaha. Touching the deity's lotus feet. One should touch the lotus feet of the deity with one's head. After offering all of one's activities to the Lord, one should offer oneself to the Lord. To completely surrender to the Lord is the final act of worship and the goal we are attempting to reach through the process of puja. So the best way to thank the deity is to put your head at the feet of the deity. That is the best way to touch the deity. That is, when a pujari has finished all the service of the day, then one should surrender himself to the deity. And that surrender is done by placing one's head at the lotus feet of the deity. Sometimes in some temples, they keep some metal cup. It's called satari. Satari is a silver cup or a copper cup or even a golden cup. It's made like a crown, but it's round, which is worshipped along with the deity. It's placed at the lotus feet of the deity. So that satari represents the lotus feet of the deity. And so places like Mayapur, Vrindavan, Juhu, many temples, they have it placed at the lotus feet of the deity, which is worshipped along with the deity. So when people come to take darshan, people come to see the Lord, it is placed on their head. Even in Accra they have it. In the Media temple, they have it. They have the satari. But because of the COVID, they stopped. They used to do that on Sunday. That when somebody comes to see the deity, you place it on his head, indicating that one is placing his head before the lotus feet of the Lord. So that is a sign of surrender. To surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is said to be the final act of worship. And so everyone should be encouraged to surrender fully to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by either accepting the satari on his head, or if one is a pujari, one can actually place his head on the lotus feet of the Lord. That is the bona fide way of touching the deity, except the pujaris who bathe the deity, they dress the deity. The actual official way of touching the deity is to place one head on the lotus feet of the deity. And by doing that, one becomes free from contamination, one becomes purified, one becomes eligible to return to the spiritual world. Slide 159.
Maharaj,
Yes.
I have seen there. But in our temple, our deity are also big. And then sometimes to do that, you have to put our hand on the lotus seats of the Lord and touch our hands. It's also this system or this manner to do is also allowed. I want to know if it is also right to do it like this.
Well, generally, it's the pujaris that have that facility. When they finish taking care of the deity, they can put their head at the lotus feet of the Lord. But we don't allow everybody to just go and do that. No, we don't allow. So
Yes.
worship the deity, they can do that. Those who worship the deity, they can do that. But we don't allow the public to come, everybody begin to put their head and the deity. No, we don't do that. But the pujaris can do, because they're taking care of the Lord. So at the end of the day of the service, they can place their head at the lotus feet of the Lord and offer some prayers. That is allowed. The best thing is to have this satari. Satari is like a metal made of, it's a metal cap, like a crown. And then it's either made of copper, silver, or gold. And then they put it on the lotus feet of the deity, and then they offer it to the devotees who come. Who comes on darshan, they place it on his head. Anybody who comes for darshan, they place it on his head. So that is also said to be the lotus feet. Actually, on top of the satari, the lotus feet of the Lord is placed there, and so they are worshipped along with the Lord, and then placed on people's heads. That is the standard in most of our temples in India and abroad. So maybe we have to arrange to get more sataris for different temples, so that can serve that purpose of allowing the devotees to take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Maharaj, in line with your submission now about the relationship, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, great personality like Raghunath Das, from an aristocratic family, that at a point he stayed outside Jagannath temple to pay obeisance to the Lord inside. And also the remnant of prasad served kept, not even fit for cow to eat. He goes there in the night and wash the eat. So I don't know, maybe you explain these levels, because sometimes devotees, we say they are not qualified to touch their lordship. Maybe in regards to this, you can explain to us relationship of Raghunath Das and the deity and the aspect of eating prasad, which is not even fit for cows.
Yes, thank you. Raghunath Das Goswami, he is, Lord Chaitanya used him to teach renunciation. Actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he used different devotees to teach the world different things. It is said that he used Sanatana Goswami to teach humility. He used Haridas Thakur to teach tolerance. He used Raghunath Das Goswami to teach renunciation. He used Ramananda Raya to teach that anybody can become an authority, a spiritual authority, can become a guru. So Raghunath Das Goswami was used by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to teach the world how a devotee is very, very detached. He came from a very wealthy family, very, very wealthy family. In fact, his family was compared to the wealth of Indra. But Raghunath Das Goswami was not attached to the wealth. As soon as he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was eager to give up his father's wealth and join Mahaprabhu. He ran away from home, and the father brought him back. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him, don't be in a haste. Go back home, live at home, behave like an ordinary householder, do your necessary things, but inside, within your heart, you should worship the Lord. But don't behave the way you're behaving. When the time comes, you will get a chance to join me in Puri. So, Raghunath Das Goswami, following the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he went home and lived like a normal householder. It is said that the parents married, they got him a very beautiful girl, as beautiful as the wife of Indra. Indra's wife is Sachi. They said Raghunath Das, his wife was as beautiful as Sachi. But Raghunath Das Goswami, he was always thinking about the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So therefore, when he got the mercy of Sri Lonityananda, he met Lonityananda and his followers during the chip rice festival, Parihati. And Lonityananda engaged him. Lonityananda ordered him to feed all the Vaishnavas that were with him during that festival. And Raghunath Das was so happy to do that service. And just by feeding the devotees, feeding Lonityananda, his followers, his associates, he got the mercy. And so when he went back home, the opportunity came for him to leave home. And he left home and joined Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Puri. So, and when he left home, the father sent people to Puri, but he did not pass the main road. He passed the bush path. So the people, they sent after him, they followed the main path, they got to Puri, and Raghunath Das Goswami wasn't there. So they came back to report to the father that they have followed the way, they've gone to Puri, and Raghunath Das Goswami is not there. So the father spoke. But Raghunath Das Goswami passed the bush way, ended up in Puri, and Lord Chaitanya put him in charge, put him under the charge of Swarup Damodar. So Raghunath Das Goswami, he demonstrated such detachment, such renunciation, that in fact we cannot imitate. So he will not enter the Jagannath temple, he will pay obeisances from a distance. Though he was qualified to enter the Jagannath temple, but he will not. He was first, he started organizing big parties for the devotees because he has some money on him. But sooner he stopped doing that, and then he would go and stand at the gate, Simhadwara gate in Puri temple, the Lion gate, and then when the pujaris are coming, whatever they give him, whatever food they give him, depend on that. Later he gave up that, then he started taking 1 cup of milk a week, and even that he gave up, and then he started taking this rotten prasadam, food that is rejected and thrown to cows. He started eating that. So his position is that he was simply demonstrating that high level of renunciation. And that was, he understood Mahaprabhu's desire. And so he acted like that. In fact, it is said because he was so detached, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally gave him his Shalagram Shila. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu awarded him his Shalagram Shila and some beads he used to wear. He personally gave it to Raghunath Das Goswami because of his high level of detachment. And Raghunath Das Goswami could understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants me to live in Govardhan because he gave me the Govardhan Shilas. So when Mahaprabhu disappeared, then Raghunath Das Goswami, he journeyed to Vrindavan and went to Govardhan, and he stayed there, and he actually excavated the Radhakund and Shamkund, and he stayed there until he passed on. So his samadhi is at the Radhakund. So he was simply an instrument to teach the world that high level of renunciation, just as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used other devotees to teach the world the different qualities of his devotees. So that should be understood. So are you okay? Can we move on?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, completed. I'm okay. Hare Krishna.
So in 59, it says offering gift to the Lord. And here the system is that all the ladies and gentlemen who come into the morning to visit the temple bring so many things. Even one morsel of rice, one morsel of flour can be offered. It is a regulatory principle that one should not go to see a saintly person or the deity in the temple without offering. The offering may be very humble, or it may be priceless. Even a flower, a little fruit, a little water, whatever is possible must be offered. So when a devotee comes to offer something to the deity in the morning, he's sure to smell the good fragrance of the incense, and then at once he will become cleansed of the poisonous effect of material existence. So this is the etiquette of visiting a saintly person or the deity, is that we must always offer something. It doesn't matter how insignificant it is. It may be a fruit, it may be a flower, it may be some rice, some dal, whatever one can offer. But the etiquette is that one should offer something to the deity. It is said, Kumanaha sumanstram yati yasha padab yo. Sumano ripada mantrina tam chaitanya prabhum bhaje. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because simply by offering him a flower, at his lotus feet, even the most ardent materialist becomes a devotee. So just by offering something to the Lord, one becomes a devotee. I remember Srila Prabhupada, when Srila Prabhupada started his mission in New York, 26th Avenue. He said somebody brought him a toilet roll. Some one of these hippies. He doesn't know what to offer to Prabhupada. So he came and he saw people are offering something. So he just looked into his bag, and all that he had was a toilet roll. So he offered it to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada accepted the toilet roll, even though he had no use for it. But he accepted it. And so by offering the toilet roll, he opens his heart for Bhakti. I also remember His Holiness Bhakti Damodara Maharaj. He also mentioned how some Rastaman came and offered him a packet of cigarettes. And though he doesn't need cigarette, he doesn't smoke, but he accepted a cigarette. Why? Because that person he wants to engage in Krishna's service. He wants some blessings to engage in Krishna's service. So by offering something, it is not the object that matters, but the mood, the desire, the attitude of giving something to Krishna, giving something to a saintly person. That attitude is what Krishna looks at. So even though he was given the wrong item, a packet of cigarette, but the attitude of giving was very important. Krishna noticed that, the devotee noticed that. And so that is what is accepted, not the physical object. And so by giving that, he immediately becomes qualified to perform devotional service. So when we go to the temple to see the devotees, or when we go to the temple to see the deities, we must always offer something. It doesn't matter how small, how insignificant, but the attitude of giving, the attitude of offering something to the deity is very important. Uddhava tells Lord Krishna in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Yat Yat Ishtatanam Loke Yat Chati Priyam Atmanaha, that whatever is most desired by one within this material world, whatever is very dear to oneself, one should offer that very thing to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So whatever is very dear to us, whatever we like, we should offer that to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We should sacrifice that as an offering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this will automatically bring us closer to the Supreme Lord. So one should never go to see the deity without offering something. Flower, fruit, water, grains, whatever. And if you go to India, you see this is a common thing. People will come with garlands, they will come with flowers, they will come with fruits, they will come with money, they will come with something to offer to the deity. And that exchange is very necessary for our progress in Krishna consciousness.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I want to ask a question. In my vicinity where I stay, before I joined the Krishna movement, whenever it is Christmas, I normally go to the shopping mall, buy drinks, biscuits, and toffee, and share for the kids and then parents and my landlords. But when I became a devotee, and then in reciprocation, they also cook, and then like Christmas, they will serve you food and those. But when I became a devotee, when I stopped eating meat and all those things, during Christmas, I still go to buy my drinks, my biscuit, and share among the people. There was one lady in the next house. She cooked rice with egg and then packaged it as a takeaway. So when I went to deliver those items and I left, she also came to my place bringing me that food. But I told her I cannot accept it. She felt so bad. But I explained to her the reason why I cannot accept it. What was that the right thing I did, or should I have accepted it and give it to somebody, since it was made from meat and fish and other view? Hare Krishna.
Well, Hare Krishna, just as I explained, you could accept it and give it to somebody else. So the spirit of giving, that attitude of giving, is what we look at. I say there are some people you can explain to, they would not feel bad, but if she's feeling bad, you just take it. You don't even look at it. You don't even open it, and then just find somebody else and give it to the person, so that she feels that she has done some service. She feels that he has offered something, and just that attitude of giving to a devotee, Krishna looks at that attitude. He looks at that attitude. Of course, if the fellow understands that, yes, I'm no more into these things, I don't eat this, I don't eat that. So if you want to offer me something, then you bring what I eat. But that is for the person who is ready to understand. But if the fellow is not ready to understand, then you just take it and pass it on to somebody else, so that it doesn't block the opportunity for him to, maintain that mood of the attitude of giving. Just as I mentioned, somebody gave toilet roll to Prabhupada, he doesn't need it, but he accepted it because he felt it's an opportunity for him to cultivate some piety and engage in devotional service. somebody giving to Bhakti Damodara Maharaj a packet of cigarette. He would have just said, get out, I don't need this cigarette. Why you give me cigarette? But he felt by accepting, he's not accepting the cigarette, he's accepting the service attitude. And by accepting that service attitude, he helps the soul to open up for more service. So it depends on the situation. If the fellow is an understanding type of person, you can say, okay, sorry, and I don't take this anymore. My lifestyle has changed. So if you want me to actually eat, bring me some fruit or bring me the raw food or whatever I can cook myself, that is there. But if you cook it with these things, I cannot eat. So please understand. But if the fellow is not ready to understand, just take it and pass it to somebody else. So this way, he still has the mood of wanting to do some service, to do something. That mood, that attitude is very helpful for the personality.
Thank you, Maharaj. But Maharaj, I also felt that the reason I couldn't take it was I felt that probably by accepting that haven't I also contributed to meat eating since I disassociated myself from eating that. I just felt like by accepting that is as good as I've contributed to the eating. And there was another instance when I joined the movement newly. One of my bosses that I served at the workplace, I used to go and buy food for him. He would send me, Bruce, go and buy me, then I go out and buy the food. So when I joined the movement newly, and then he sent me to go and buy food, and I accepted the money. When I came out of the office and I was walking down the street to buy the food, I remembered that no, this food I'm going to buy is actually containing meat and other stuff. So I stood somewhere, lingered for a while, then I went round about and they came back and told him the food is finished. And I gave him the money. Then he sent another person to go elsewhere and buy the food. I just felt like it looked somehow funny, but have I not offended him in any way? Or was that the right thing I did by going around and come to tell him the food is finished? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So you are trying to protect your devotional keeper. So the best thing is, as you said, you explain to him that because of your faith, you don't get involved with these things. So I'm sorry, but I cannot do this one. So why don't you send somebody? So if you tell him ahead of time that, see, I cannot do these things because of my faith. We don't get involved with all these meat, fish, eggs. We don't get involved with them. So if you want me to buy these things for you, I can buy something, but not these things. So why don't you send another person? So better you explain like that. But where somebody is offering you something as a gift, he is trying to open up his heart. So you have to consider whether, of course, you're not accepting because you want to eat it. When you accept and eat it, then that's where you're implicated. But if your consideration is that this person is trying to open up to serve the devotee, to serve Krishna, so you're not actually accepting the object he's giving you. In your mind, you're not accepting the object he's giving you, but you are accepting the attitude of service. The attitude of service is very important. So that is why you're accepting. And so the object he gives you is secondary. Your mind is not even on it at all. You're just looking at, okay, this is soul who wants to do some service, he wants to render some service, but he doesn't understand what service he has to render. So in the first instance, you can accept, and then you can explain. When you accept and you explain, so that he knows in the future, he doesn't bring such an object again to you. But when you accept and say, see, because of my faith, I don't do this, I don't do this, I don't do this. But because you don't know, I am accepting. But in the future, don't bring this kind of thing to me. So he will appreciate, and he will know that you don't like these things. And so in the future, he will still maintain his service attitude. The important is trying to encourage the person to maintain that service attitude. So that is the point.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. So we move to 60, slide 60. Seeing Govinda Dev Deity in Vrindavan. My dear Vashudhara, any person who goes to Vrindavan and sees the deity of Govinda Dev is free from the courthouse of Yamaraj and is allowed to enter into the highest planetary systems in which reside the demigods. This means that even an ordinary person who goes to Vrindavan out of inquisitiveness and by chance sees the temple, especially that of Govinda Deva, even if he is not elevated to a spiritual kingdom, he is still assured promotion to the higher planetary systems. This means that simply by visiting the deity of Govinda in Vrindavan, one becomes highly elevated in pious life. So, in our Mangala Charana prayers, we often say this prayer, Divyat Vrindaranya Kalpadrumada, Srimad Ranat Gara Simhastanastau, Srimad Srila Govinda Devo, Christianity, Severe Manos Marami. That in the temple of jewels in Vrindavan, underneath a desire tree, Sri Sri Radha Govinda is served by their most confidential associates. He sits upon an effulgent throne along with his consort, Srimati Radharani. I offer my humble obeisances unto the divine couple. So, Srimati Radha Govinda is said to be the, we have Sambandha, we have Abhideya, and we have Prayojana. Sambandha means knowledge, relationships. The deity of Sambandha is Madana Mohan. That's the deity of Sanatana Goswami. Madana Mohan is in charge of knowledge and relationships. Abhideya is the means of engaging in the service of the Lord. That is the activity of devotional service. Radha Govinda is the deity in charge of Abhideya. And Radha Gopinath is the deity in charge of Prayojana. Prayojana means the final goal, prema and love of Godhead. Radha Gopinath is the deity of Prayojana. So for one to engage in devotional service, he must take darshan of Govinda Deva. Therefore, it is recommended that if one goes to Vrindavan, you must endeavor to have darshan of Govinda Deva. Just by having a darshan of Govinda Deva, one is promoted to a very high planetary systems in the universe. One becomes free from the court of Yamaraj just by seeing Govinda Deva. Of course, the recommendation is that one should see all the three deities. There's Sambandha, deity in charge of Sambandha, which is Mandamoha, the deity in charge of Prayojana, which is Radha Gopinath, and the deity in charge of Abhideya, which is Radha Govinda. One is supposed to see all the three deities in one day before the sunset. Now, these deities are no more, the original deities are no more in Vrindavan because of the activities of the Mongols, the Muslims who attacked holy places in India. The three deities, original deities, were moved to Jaipur. And furthermore, the sister of Jaiman Singh, who got married to the prince in Karoli, had fallen in love with Radha Mandana Mohan. And so when she was going to get married and had to be taken to Karoli, to her husband's house, she told the brother, Jaiman Singh, that she cannot go to the marriage house without the deity of Mandana Mohan. And the king was not very happy to part with Mandana Mohan. But she said she was going to test the sister. If she is really in love with Mandana Mohan, they are going to blindfold her. And they are going to put many deities in the room. If under that blindfolding, she can go straight and touch Mandana Mohan, then it will be understood that the deity wants to go with her. Then only on that condition will the deities follow her to her husband's house in Karoli. So the woman, the sister of Jaiman Singh, agreed. So she was blindfolded outside a room. And in a room, they had put many deities in the room. And then this blindfolded lady was brought into the room and said, now, choose your deity you want. Go and touch Mandana Mohan. If you touch Mandana Mohan, then we know that the deity himself wants to go with you. And so even though her eyes were closed, tightly covered, she went straight to Mandana Mohan and touched Mandana Mohan. And it was very glorious. So everybody agreed that, yes, this lady, she loved the deities, Mandana Mohan, and Mandana Mohan also loves her service, and so he wants to go with him. So, along with the marriage party, the Mandana Mohan deities were sent to Karoli, and Jaiman Singh immediately ordered a temple to be built in Karoli, and the deities installed there. And his sister became a servant of those deities. So now, if you want to see the three deities together in one day, you have to first of all go to Karoli, sleep there in the night. Early morning, you have darshan of Mandana Mohan, and then you enter your vehicle and come to Jaipur. There's a distance. It's about 4 hours journey or 5 hours journey from Karoli to Jaipur. Then you come to Jaipur, and then you quickly have darshan of Govinda Deva and Gopinath, Radha Gopinath. Then it is said that your darshan is complete. When you see all these three deities before the sunset, it is said that your darshan is complete and one qualifies to go back home, back to Godhead. So seeing the deity of Govinda Dev is important. But now the original deities are in Jaipur. And one has to go to Jaipur in order to see these original deities of. And actually, Govinda Dev is a deity of Rupa Goswami. So one has to see the deity of Rupa Goswami in order to get the mercy to become a devotee, to become a servant of the Lord. One 161, observing Arati and celebrations of the Lord. If someone sees the face of the Lord while Arati is going on, he can be relieved of all sinful reactions coming from many, many thousands and millions of years of past. He is even excused from the killing of a Brahmana or similar prohibited activities. So this is the power of Arti. just by observing the worship of the Supreme Lord, just by being present when the arati is going on. One is freed from millions, thousands and millions of years of reactions, even to the degree of becoming free from the sin of killing a Brahmana. So, observing the arati offered to the Lord is such an auspicious activity. Actually, it is said that offering of lambs to the deity is highly, highly auspicious, both for the one offering and for those who are observing. The main offering actually is a lamb. So to observe the ghee lamb being offered to the deity is considered a very auspicious activity. And therefore, attending arati, attending pujas, where the Lord is worshipped, when the Lord is offered, all these wonderful items is not only a blessing for the pujari, but is a great blessing for all those who are observing such an offering. Text 1, slide 162, that's the last slide for this lesson. So seeing the worship of the deity in the temple. Any person who in gladness sees the worship of the deity in the temple will obtain the results of Kriya Yoga, which are described in the Pancharatra scripture. Kriya Yoga is a system of practice, much like practical devotional service, but it is especially meant for the mystic yogis. In other words, by this gradual process, the mystic yogis are eventually elevated to the devotional service of the Lord. So just by witnessing the worship of the Lord in the temple, one will obtain the results of Kriya Yoga. And as mentioned here, the Kriya Yoga is actually the process by which the yogis become elevated to the platform of worshiping the Supreme Lord. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, Mat linga mat bhakta jana darshana sparshanam charanam paricharya stuti pravaha guna karmanu kirtanam. My dear Uddhava, Krishna is speaking. One can give up false pride and prestige by engaging in the following devotional activities. One may purify oneself by seeing, touching, worshiping, serving, and offering prayers of glorification and obeisances to my form in the deity or to my pure devotees. So Krishna is telling Uddhava that by offering, by seeing, by touching, by worshiping, by serving, by offering prayers of glorification, and by offering obeisances to the deity and to the pure devotees, one can become free from false pride. As we all know, the false ego is our greatest enemy, ahankara. False ego is the greatest enemy of the living entity. And false ego is in everything. It is actually included in the material creation. It's an ingredient of the elements of creation. So false ego is everywhere. And that is why it's so difficult to deal with. But here Krishna has given us a leeway. He says anyone who is seeing, touching, worshiping, serving, offering prayers and glorification to the deity or to the pure devotee can be free from this false ego. Just as Dhruva Maharaj did. Dhruva Maharaj was offended. How does somebody get offended? Because of false ego. Dhruva Maharaj's stepmother, Suruchi, dragged him down from his father's lap. That because he was not born from his womb, from her womb, he did not qualify to sit on the throne. And Dhruva Maharaj's false ego was pricked. He felt very offended that his stepmother had deprived him of sitting on his father's lap. But what was even more painful for him was that the father did not react. The father did not say anything to chastise the stepmother, reprimand the stepmother for doing that. That actually pained Dhruva Maharaj so much that he left home and went to the forest to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by that meditation, he actually got the kingdom of his father. He ruled the kingdom of his father for 36,000 years, just by meditation on the form of the Lord. When Dhruva was in the forest, he was performing this meditation on the form of the Lord, and he captured the Lord within his heart. And the Lord had to appear before Dhruva Maharaj and awarded him his desire. Even though at that point, when Dhruva Maharaj saw the beautiful form of the Lord, he did not want any material benediction anymore. But the Lord said, you have desired it, so I'll give you. For 36,000 years, you are going to enjoy the kingdom of your father. And after 36,000 years, you'll be liberated. You go back home, back to Godhead. He created a whole planet, Dhruva Loka, which is not destroyed when the universe comes to an end, because it's as good as a spiritual planet. It will remain even when this whole material universe is finished. Dhruva Loka will remain. So just by meditating on the Lord, Dhruva Maharaj got 36,000 years and became as a king, and at the end, he was given a whole planet, a spiritual planet, to live on. So he said, by worshiping the Lord by the performance of Dakshina Bahula Yagya, just by seeing, just by offering the Lord, what does Dhruva have? Nothing. But he was in the attitude of offering whatever he had in the forest. He was offering that to the Lord. He offered himself. He offered his heart. He offered whatever was available. Just by that attitude of offering in meditation to the Lord, Lord Narayana was satisfied. And therefore, he gave Dhruva Maharaj the 36,000 years of rulership of his father's kingdom and a spiritual planet, all the same. So this is the benefit of worship. When we worship the Lord in the temple, the Lord will give us the opportunity to go back home, back to Godhead. Any question or comment?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah.
Thank you for the more elaborate explanations today and your presence. We are very grateful to have you around. I wanted to ask, could you please explain or throw more light on the animalia that are offered on the altar during Arati. I know someone asked this question, I couldn't explain much. So I don't know if you could take this opportunity to explain to us why they offer the ghee lamb, the clean cloth, and then the chamanes. Hare Krishna.
Well, they're described as upacharas. Upacharas means items of worship. They're items of worship. Normally, an important person, an important personality has to be worshipped. And who is more important than the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Every important person has to be worshipped. So who is more important than the Supreme Personality of God is Krishna. So to worship the Supreme Personality of God, certain items are needed. Actually, 16 items are listed. But out of the 16, the common ones that are used are the lamp, the incense, the lamp, water, handkerchief, flower, chamara, and then the peacock feather. So 7 items are offered. The other 16 and the other 9 items are used in the worship, in the bathing the deity and other things within the altar. But what we observe as the Arati ceremony involves the incense, the ghee lamp, the water, the handkerchief, the flower, and then the chamara and the peacock feather. So incense, we all know that is a fragrant object that before you invite the person, you have to purify the place, make the place smell nice. And so the incense serves that purpose, that you are inviting the Lord to accept your worship. You are making the environment conducive for the worship. So you
Hare Krishna, Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
The network was breaking.
Yeah,
my network is breaking. My network is breaking.
Yes, Maharaj, but actually, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Are you hearing me?
Hare Krishna.
I can hear you now.
Yes, you're loud and clear now.
Can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. So I was saying that the whole ceremony of Arti is a worship ceremony, and important personalities have to be worshipped. And there is nobody more important than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they will have items of worship, items that are used for worship. They are described as a 16 upacharas. And out of these 16, 7 of them is what we use for the arti. The rest of the items are either used in the altar, in the service of the deity, or on special occasions. So the 7 items we use for the arti begins with the incense, followed by the gilam, followed by water, followed by a handkerchief, followed by flour, followed by the whisk, and then the peacock feather. So all of these things, they symbolize something. They symbolize a principle. The incense is meant to create a conducive environment, an aromatic environment for inviting the Lord to come. When you invite an important personality, you make your environment neat and conducive for the important personality to come. So arti is, we're invoking the presence of Krishna. We're inviting the Lord to come. So you have to make the environment conducive with nice smells. So the incense is meant to create that environment whereby the Lord can descend. The gilam means enlightenment. The spiritual sky is a place of enlightenment. Everyone there is enlightened. The spiritual sky is a Brahma Jyoti. Everywhere is effulgent. So when you invite the Lord to come, you offer him light. Light is considered a major item of worship. Offering lamb to a personality indicates that the personality is an important person, and therefore you're offering him light. And then the person who is offering the light is actually seeking enlightenment. We are asking the Lord to also enlighten us by this light. In fact, it is also said that the element of fire is purifying. Fire purifies. So when you offer something which is purified to the Lord, he is also pleased. And you, the person who is worshiping, by using such purified items, it also benefits you. So by offering the gilam, which is an item of worship, we are satisfying the Lord by offering the lamb to him. At the same time, we are also asking the Lord to enlighten us from within by this light of knowledge. And then we offer water. Agra is for washing the lotus feet of the Lord. When you invite somebody to come, you must perform abhishek. So we mentally worship the lotus feet of the Lord by offering the water. And then the next thing is that once you have washed the lotus feet of the Lord, then you have to clean them by offering the handkerchief. The handkerchief is like a towel for cleaning the lotus feet of the Lord. And then once you finish cleaning the lotus feet of the Lord, the next thing is you offer fragrant flowers. Flowers are said to be the dress of nature, the beauty of God's creation. So we are offering that beauty back to the Lord. We're offering the flowers back to the Lord, even though they are his own creations. But the flowers must be very fragrant. Krishna loves flowers. Krishna loves garlands. Forest flowers. Krishna is always attracted to beautiful flowers. So we offer him the flowers. And then we offer the chamara and offered a fan, which are meant for worship of important personalities. A chamara is offered in worship to an important personality. A peacock feather is offered in worship of an important personality. So because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the most important personality, we offered him the chamara and we offer him the peacock feather. The chamara is meant to drive away insects, drive away some flying objects in the environment, and then it also shows some honor. And the peacock feather is meant to provide cooling. Like somebody is hot, you fan him. So when we fan the peacock feather, we are actually driving away heat. We are trying to cool the body of the Lord. And so we are offering service to the Lord. And so that is the whole ceremony of the arati. It is actually meant for a very important personality. It is described as Agra Puja. It's a worship of a very important personality, a worship of exalted personality. So every day, this is done because Krishna is the most important personality in the entire creation. And so the devotee, he wants to worship the Lord every blessed day with these items of worship. And just by doing that, one becomes purified. And just by witnessing that, one also benefits. So both the worshiper and the observers, they all benefit from such an activity. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
So,
thank you for the enlightenment. When the person actually explained much.
Okay.
And now you have enlightened me, so I understand. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Our time is up. We cannot go to the next lesson. I was thinking we could do a few verses on the next lesson. So let's meet early tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock prompt. I'm going to start my lessons. I will be online by 5 minutes to 7. At 7 o'clock prompt, I will start the lesson because we have to end before 9 o'clock so that the other program can start exactly 9 o'clock. So about 2-3 minutes to 9 o'clock. Actually, 5 minutes to 9 o'clock, we should end so that the other program can take off. So please come on time tomorrow so that we can see how far we can go with this lesson 4, lesson 5. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All right, please. You also mentioned last week that you were going to give us an essay this week.
Oh my God. Yes, I said, let's make it tomorrow. Okay. It's not nearby. Tomorrow I'll give it to you.
All right, thank you, Maharaj. Please, Akinchana Prabhu. Akinchana Prabhu. It's not around. Please, when Maharaj goes off the platform, I would love us to have some 5-minute discussion. It's great Chaitanya Prema gave me an assignment we need to discuss. So kindly give us this 5 minutes when Maharaj is off the platform so that we have the discussion.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Shall we all unmute and chant one Hare Krishna mantra for Maharaj for his presence with us?
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. That is great Srivas Vanacari ki. Jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, dear devotees, please accept my most humble obeisance. On behalf of His Great Chaitanya Prema Prabhu, I met him at the temple last week, and then he raised a concern, which I think is very important that we, as devotees and participants on the platform, should take very good note of. You know, Maharaj is a Grihasta. You know, he's a Grihasta guru. He's got families to take care of, and then he coming on board to host us and then being the lecturer, he's using data. So ideally, we are supposed to be providing him with some data whenever he comes on board to give us a lesson like this. Something like Guru Darshan that we give after an important personality like this has given you some lectures or maybe even initiated you. So if Getting Prima raised this concern, I thought it's very wise for us to, take charge of. I don't know, the devotees who are not in Ghana, I don't know if there's anything you can do to support us. But more importantly, the devotees in Ghana, because Maharaj is with us, I want us to use this opportunity to, just contribute something small in our own way so that we can be buying Maharaj some data. The first time he started, he had some issue with his network. He have to switch from Vodafone to Airtel Tigo. So I want to personally engage with Maharaj and see which of the network he's now using, so that any weekends we will make provision for data, because it's a grass that God wants to take care of, and we cannot burden him to be giving us this free knowledge, whilst he also have to be the same person bearing for the cost. So I thought it's why that we discuss it here and see if it is very okay with all the devotees, and even those who are outside Ghana could give any assistance. You have a way of doing this. Very soon we'll be ending the session. We should have been doing it a long time ago, but it never occurred to us. And I think it's not too late for us to embark on such a journey. That is why I took up upon myself to bring it on board so that we all discuss. So it is over to all of us. Let's just have some 5-minute discussion on it and see the contributions we can all make towards it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, Hare Krishna, everybody. That is the issue, and I hope it is very important to do this because if our Maharaj is helping us, we have to do that. It's very important. Then, like he said, those who are already in Ghana, they have to contribute directly to their own. We who are in other countries, we see also what we can do. But if somebody have another idea or something to say, we are already together. Let's go on. Hare Krishna. We have our great Prabhu there. We have Madhuvan Prabhu there. He's one of our oldest. We have also, I don't want to blaspheme. We have also, I think he live. Who is there also? We have to hear for them. Prabhu live quickly like this. Hare Krishna Prabhu. And we have also our mother. We have to give him the.
Please let unmute. Those who are not speaking, let them unmute.
Yes, everyone can unmute so that we have this discussion.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, Madhuvan Prabhu.
Please, is it possible to have
background noise is too much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
For now, if it is about data, as Prabhu Rasai have raised, that one, those of us in Ghana, I think we can handle that for now. But if it is a general guru reduction, then that one, I think, let's say those in Nigeria can organize this DS and see how best they can submit it. But if it is data now, like Prabhu Rasai is saying, then those of us in Ghana, we can. But generally, I know after the course, students will be willing to. I think it's our duty to give some guru darshan. So if that is the case, then we all have to discuss it. But if it's about data now, as Prabhu is saying, then I think we can handle it now for Maharaj. Hare Krishna. That's my little.
Hare Krishna. The background noise is too much. We are not hearing.
Akijana Prabhu, when you unmute yourself, this thing give us a feedback. So, Madam Prabhu, if you want to say something, you can.
What I have to say, I think this course we are doing we're supposed to pay some money for the course itself. So, because those of us in Nigeria now, to fund the data, I don't know how it is practically possible. Then on top of it, I think for this course, we are supposed to pay some money. And I think that's also supposed to be responsible for this type of cost, running cost. So, but as the speaker earlier, I think we have to do something urgently. And please, I want the Ghana devotees, you can see what you can do quickly.
Yeah, yes, Prabhu. Like you mentioned, the school fees, which is the $100 we are paying, is supposed to handle this. But according to His Grace Chitana Prima, the fees is not coming as expected. So therefore, there will be a need for us to do that. But when he said, I also mentioned this, like we are saying that we are paying fees and we know the fees can handle it. He said, yes, if the fees were coming as expected, he would have been sponsoring. But there was something we didn't tell you. I don't know whether we brought it on board. When His Grace Chitana Prima was handling the class, the devotees in Ghana contributed and bought a pocket Wi-Fi for him when he was also handling the class. That could have also been handled by the school fees, but there was a situation we need to buy, so we came together and then bought this pocket Wi-Fi for him. Unlike Mara, he has not prompted us on that, but we just feel like because Ghana Prima is the coordinator and he has given us, I'm sure they might have had some conversation back door and he's bringing it on board. So like my brother Astamodina Balaba said, the devotees in Ghana will take charge of that. And after the course, and then the group Dashan, we all have a way of doing it. So I think we could conclude on this. But His Grace, Hello, you said something we didn't hear you. I don't know if you can unmute and just say it, please.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
And I was just talking about the YouTube session, like if it can be ended separately, so the discussion will not go on it, because later we'll try to access it and it will be a lot